Looking live here in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. My name is Darren. That is AJ, and this is the DNA Sports Recap. How's it going, man?
Dude, I'm doing much better now.
Yeah,
much better now. Been a rough week, but I'm doing much better now.
that's right. I'm happy to be here. AJ, you seem to be happy to be here. So
I'm fucking great to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show. I feel it already. Once again, folks, if you're watching this live on our live stream, feel free to jump into the chat there. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you think about the subject we're talking about in today's episode. And also just tell AJ your favorite color. He loves knowing that stuff. So let us know.
Bring it on. I need it.
Yeah, we got a lot going on today. We have we're going to be skipping Utah football this week, believe it or not. Not a whole lot to talk about.
There's just not a whole lot to talk about.
Unless something came out that we're not going to know about. It probably came out.
And if there is, leave us a comment. We're more than happy to discuss our feelings on it. That's fine.
But we won't have a whole lot of research on it.
Correct. It's just going to be our feelings on it.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
Our feelings matter, guys.
It does.
They matter.
DNA feelings matter too.
That's right. Subchannel on the way. But yeah, anyway, so on the episode today, we're going to be talking a little bit about Utah hockey and their race for the wildcard spot. We're going to talk some Utah Jazz basketball. And, of course, we're going to wrap things up a little bit of Major League Baseball this week. So that's going to be what's in the
old docket.
Yeah, the old docket, the old rocket docket. So
love it.
Yeah. Anyway, once again, folks, if you're watching this live during the live stream, please feel free to jump in the chat. Let us know. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel afterwards, please feel free to comment in the comments down below. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. And, let us know your horoscope sign or whatever that stuff is. Stop with some engagement. We appreciate it.
Any engagement. Any engagement's fine.
That's right. All right. So you ready to jump into this?
Let's do it.
All right. So we'll do the intros there.
Yep.
Good? All right. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the DNA Sports Recap.
Let's break down Utah Hockey Club's Western Conference playoff hopes at this point.
With the Utah Jazz, Isaiah Collier is set to break a team record. Let's talk about it.
And Major League Baseball is testing ABS, or automatic ball strike zone system. What do we think?
In Major League Baseball, what will Major League Baseball do post ESPN? Let's talk about it. With all that and more, my name is Darren. That is AJ, and this is the DNA Sports Recap.
Roll the intro.
How's it going, AJ?
Doing great, buddy. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am living the dream here in sunny Salt Lake City. It's been gorgeous the last couple of days. It's like, 58 degrees today or something crazy like that?
It was nice and warm today, but the morning was pretty cold to wake up to.
Yeah. I wonder how that works.
Yeah, I went out there and I was like, oh, I haven't like had to start my truck the last few mornings. And then this morning I get out there and I'm like, I should have started my truck. That was a bad idea.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how we're in that state. It's technically still winter and we do have another couple of cold fronts coming our way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's always nice to be like at the end of this happens every year in Utah. You always have that, that middle before spring actually happens. Just kidding, guys. Nice little warm up for a few days. And then it goes right back to,
to below freezing temperatures,
Yeah,
potential of snow. We haven't got a lot of snow this year, though.
Yeah, well, there's reasons for that, and I'm sure that you'll find people talking about that on some other channel, but we're just not going to get into that kind of stuff here.
That's not what we do.
Yeah.
We're here to talk sports.
Yeah,
enjoy it.
We're just talking sports, guys. We sidestepped the whole Canada, USA, the reason why everybody's booing on that for a reason. So we just don't want to get involved in any of that for sure. We got another comment here. I'll start with before we jump into the topics. Let's go ahead and jump into the comments here. We got Greg Hawkins, channel legend, hopping in and saying, howdy, gentlemen. Cubbies are still undefeated, technically. Nice. Dude, that's great. I think that's great. They're like, you and no injuries so far, I think, right? Greg, let me know if I'm right on that one. I don't think you have any injuries coming out of spring training yet. So far, my boys in blue are, I think, 1 in 5 in the preseason so far.
Damn, the Dodgers suck.
Yeah. Trade the team. Blow it up. Let's do it.
Blow it up. Try again.
Yeah. Let's see here. Another comment from Greg there. 6-0-2, no injuries that I can think of. All right. Well, yeah, perfect.
Does that mean there's been 2 ties?
Yeah, in spring training, if it's tied, they'll just both managers will look over, be like, yeah, we're good. And then they'll just end at that inning.
They just play 9 innings and just roll with it.
Sometimes they don't even play 9. Sometimes it's 8. They're just like, we're good. Just go.
We're just training.
Yeah, we got all the guys. You're winning. We're good. We'll just call it. So we got all our guys in. That's all we need to do. I love spring training baseball. You know why? Because as a fan of a West Coast team, all the games start before, in the early afternoons. or in the mornings. So like all my games are like early on in the day when you're a fan of a West Coast team. It's like your game started at 8 o'clock at night, and you're just like, dude, I'm exhausted. Can't sit through this,
Yeah.
So it gets a little tricky. So that's one of my favorite things about spring training. Once again, folks, if you're watching this on the live stream, please feel free to jump in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. If you're listening to this on our podcast, please leave a rate and review. All right, so let's go ahead and first talk about the Utah Hockey Club, shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we do that, let's go ahead and do the intro for that. Come back over here and go into the media effects.
Oh, yeah.
I totally know what I'm doing here, guys. All right, let's break down your Utah Hockey Club. All right, man. So what I like to do is when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club, we want to go ahead and jump into it, do something a little bit differently today. What we have here is, let's see here. You've got dead fingers, bro. Let me just take care of that for you. We got to get in there.
They're apparently ice cold. They just don't respond to the trackpad. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
That'll work.
We'll just go down this way, and then you should be good to go from there. Then you might have to scroll down a little bit more.
Yeah, but you need the first one.
I got it all. I actually put them on my notes like a professional.
Thanks, Darren.
Just say it, bro.
I was like, I know Darren's going to be prepared. We're going to put it up on the screen. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah. It is on the screen. We also got another comment here from the Car Wash channel. We have, what do you mean Utah Jazz record? So we're going to get into that here in a little bit. I don't want to blow the story already, but there, Isaiah Collier is set to break a Jazz record this year, and it's going to be pretty cool to talk about. Not really a huge thing, but, when there's literally nothing to talk about this team, it's nice to have something to talk about. But yes, we'll definitely go ahead and talk about that, and we'll also get into a little bit of the Utah Hockey Club. Utah Hockey Club playing right now against Minnesota, and it's 1-0 Utah in the first. Perfect, man.
Appreciate that.
Thanks
Absolutely.
for the update.
I was invited to the game, my good buddy Josh, but unfortunately, I had this to be at.
Fortunately, this man's sitting over here drinking my whiskey and telling me, unfortunately.
You know what I mean.
You got to love it. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into that now. We wanted to start things off a little differently this week. Now, it seems that a lot of our viewers like us when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club are newer to this sport and are just excited about rooting for an NHL team here in the state.
Yeah.
And they're not really privy to how the rules work when it comes to hockey. So as we come up to the trade deadline and the rest of the season, we'll be discussing a lot about playoff odds and seeding, etc. So we thought it'd be a good first part of the segment to break down the point system in the NHL. The NHL does not go by record. The other major sports, football, basketball, baseball,
absolutely,
they go by record, winning percentage. Hockey's a little different. It's by a point system. So what we want to do is break that down for anybody who's not in the know and talk about how the playoff seedings work, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit about what we think about the potential of the Utah Hockey Club sneaking in and getting a what we call a wildcard spot, which we'll get into here.
Yep, let's get into it.
Okay, so the NHL determines standings by using a point system. Wins grant 2 points. An overtime loss in a shootout or in overtime in general earns a team 1 point. So even if you do lose, but you lose in overtime or you lose in a shootout, you still get 1 point.
Yep.
And then a regulation loss is 0 points.
Yeah. So understanding the NHL point system kind of sets the stage for the significance of what these playoffs really are. The NHL is structured into 2 conferences, obviously. We got the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. And each conference is further divided into 2 divisions, the Pacific and the Central in the Western Conference, and the Atlantic and the Metropolitan in the Eastern Conference.
The top 3 teams from each division advance to the playoffs. Additionally, there are 2 teams with the highest points outside of those top 3 in each conference earn wildcard spots.
So in the first round of the playoffs, each top team in each conference competes against the lowest ranked wildcard team within the same conference, and the other top division team faces the second wildcard team, and obviously the second and third teams within each division play against each other.
The home ice advantage is awarded to the highest seeded team throughout the playoffs, which is nice. Reseeding is always nice in professional sports, which would, I argue that on baseball all day long. The system fosters intense rivalries as a number 2 and number 3 seed often remain consistent year over year. For example, the Los Angeles Kings and the Edmonton Oilers have faced off each other in the first round 3 consecutive years, turning each matchup into must-watch hockey.
So in the second round, the winner of the first seed and the wild card match face the winner of the second and third seed matchup within the same division. And the third round sees the two remaining Western Conference teams face each other, and likewise for the Eastern Conference.
And as expected, the Stanley Cup final pits the remaining team from the Western Conference against the remaining team from the Eastern Conference.
So that's pretty much how how the points are scored, how the conference breaks down, or how the playoffs break down. Let us know if you guys got any questions. We're more than happy to help you out.
Yeah, let us know if we missed anything on there for sure, too, as well. Let's go ahead and jump into a few comments here before we skip into the next piece there. We've got another comment here from Car Wash Channel. I'll score updates throughout the stream. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. And I also have Jonathan Blazer saying, Jonathan Blazers, I say hi, I am president of the sports, of all the sports. Jonathan, appreciate it. Thanks for being in with a chat with us, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. So what we wanted to do there is just kind of break that down so you kind of have a good understanding of how the point system works. And when we start talking about Utah Hockey Club's chance of being in the postseason, we want you to understand why we're talking wild card and not necessarily catching one of those top 3 spots in the division, because that's about 17 points out right now. And that's kind of a pipe dream in the,
a little deeper than you need to be.
Yeah, a little bit less likely. So when it comes to that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that on the Utah Hockey Club side. Let's talk about the games that are coming up. Now, what we wanted to do is talk about the upcoming games against the teams that are in the push for a wild card team, right?
Yep.
Right now, our team, the Utah Hockey Club, is sitting at 61 points, coming off of back-to-back wins, by the way. UHC is 3 points out from the final wild card spot against Calgary Flames, at least at the time of recording. May change throughout the day.
Yep.
After today. And then also 7 points behind the Avalanche, Colorado Avalanche.
Correct. And then the Canucks are also the first team in the playoff position, right? So the Canucks are the third team in the conference.
Right. The bottom third team. Yes.
The bottom third team in the conference. In same conference, same division.
Yes. Same conference, same division. So they're the bottom of the 3 teams that are making the top 3 teams that are making it to the playoffs.
Exactly.
And then we have the 2 wildcard spots that are in our conference that we're chasing. And that's the Calgary Flames. And I believe, and the Avalanche as well.
Yep. Exactly.
So
I mean, something that's kind of important is we don't have any remaining games against the Avalanche, right? So coming into this playoff race, or race for these final wild card spots, we don't have any huge swings, where we can give them 0 points and we can take 2. But we do have some games remaining against the Canucks and also the Calgary Flames.
Yes, let's break that Calgary Flames game down. That one's happening in LCLC here at home on April 1st.
Yep.
Now, about a month out from now, so the lot can change between now and then. But they are also, playing they're playing the Wild tonight, and they're 11 points ahead of us in the standings. And they're also in the 3rd spot right now in the Western Conference division.
Yeah.
Right. So with that not playing, why we want to play, it doesn't come into the play for the wild card spot. It does allow this team a chance to gain some points and move up in the board.
Exactly. I mean, you just got to keep scoring points realistically. Like every one of these games matters, because if you can give your opponent 0 points and you can take 2, you have a chance to keep pushing for any of those wild card spots realistically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Calgary Flames, they're a great hockey team. I mean, they've got some really good players. Jonathan Huberdeau, he's leading the team with 43 points so far. He also leads them with 22 goals so far this year.
Really?
So he's been really significant to this team so far. And I mean, the Flames do play the Avalanche twice in March. So, I mean, with the Avalanche owning that wild card spot, stealing a couple points from them could really help out Utah Hockey Club coming down the stretch.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I want to dive in a future episode, a little bit more detail on the other teams we're watching, because what's important for this Utah Hockey Club is to play the games in front of them, not necessarily watch the out-of-town scoreboard. That's jobs for us to do, right? That's what we need to do as fans and stuff like that of these teams. So one thing I didn't want to talk about, since we don't have any games coming up against the Colorado Avalanche, what I wanted to talk about is strength of schedule going down the stretch.
Absolutely.
So we have there's a website called tinkathon.com, which has Utah Hockey Club sitting at the 20th ranked strength and schedule down the stretch. That has the Avalanche sitting at 21 with the same odds of strength of schedule at a winning percentage of 0.54, which basically means the remaining teams you have left have a winning percentage on average of 5.34, right? 543 record. Winning percentage. However, the Calgary are sitting at 13th strength of schedule, and their winning percentage for the remainder of their games is 0.55. So while the Avalanche and Utah are tied for basically the same odds, Calgary is actually facing much higher odds on a harder strength of schedule. So therefore, the two teams that are ahead of them in the wildcard division potentially both could be facing, especially over the next month or so, when these things start to shake out a little bit more, could be facing stronger schedules than what Utah hockey clubs could be
which
facing.
is great for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, and the Wildcats, the Wild are actually one spot ahead of us on the strength of schedule. Dallas Stars are sitting at the 10th in strength of schedule. Some of the hockey proponents out there, some of the local talking heads there talk about that, saying that they're the most likely, if there's anybody in the top 3 that could slide out because of how hard their schedule is for the remainder of the thing, that's a potential that they might slide out or at least drop down low enough to allow.
They got a lot of tough games coming up.
Yeah, and they have a lot of other teams that would allow either the Avalanche, probably the Avalanche or the Flames to move up into that position, and then potentially put Utah Hockey Club into a position where they're either one of the wildcard tops spots or a lot closer by points. Basically, this team just needs to serve, and take care of the points they need to have in order to get there. Dallas Stars are, 15 points ahead of us in the standings, and it looks like they're going to potentially make a push. But if we really want our teams to make a push for the playoffs, it's really important to understand the importance of these, different facets of the schedule and how we can maximize our potential to kind of go forward. They got to go on the Utah Hockey Club needs to kind of go on a bit of a streak, which they have done.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of improvements over the last bit. They've won 3 of their consecutive home games now.
Yeah.
They won 2 games in a row, which is great. And we're actually starting to see improved efficiency on both sides of the ice. So
really nice. We're kind of getting a little bit healthier, right? I mean, getting Nick Schmaltz back really helps us. He was gone for an extended amount of time. So a little bit of health, a little bit of luck, you kind of keep pushing and hopefully get some wins down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I wanted to ask you this. Was it more important? Obviously, Bill Armstrong is said pretty much the whole time since this team was acquired by SCG is that, this team is in a rebuilding process. Well, it'd be nice to get into the playoffs. He would not be surprised if the team doesn't. He didn't actually come out and say that, but basically that's kind of the wording that we've heard from this team. We said when we did the first when we showed up to the welcome when they were here at the Delta Center, we were there for that. I'm like, all the way, we're making the playoffs. You were like, well, it's temper expectations. They're still a building team. Where are you sitting at now? Do you think this team makes it, or do you think they fall short?
I think this team has the ability to get there. Like I said, a little bit of luck, right? You need some teams to face some tough schedules because they've had a tough schedule coming up to this point, right? So a little bit of luck with some teams facing some tougher schedules and taking a few losses. You play some tough hockey and win some games that you may not have had any business winning, and you're right back in this battle.
Yeah, we just need a couple of good runs from our team and a couple of slowdowns from the rest of the league that are in front of us, and we're in there, man. We're in there. I really like it. I think it does. If the team does miss the playoffs this year, I think it basically kind of sets up a playoff or bust next year type scenario, which I'd be excited to watch, So
yeah, I agree. And I think that we've got so many young, talented players on this team, and they did go out and get some really talented defensemen in the offseason that have helped this team a ton. And I think if you can keep some of those guys around to keep mentoring some of these young guys, I think this team's got a chance to be even better next year. I think you are going to see some shell shock, right? You just moved your whole life, your whole family, everything you own from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. And yeah, when you get out there on the ice, everything should be the same, but you've got to believe that there's some mental play with that, right? Where these guys aren't playing at their highest level. And, I think this rhythm that we've seen over the course of the last few games is, there's some truth to being that they're finally settled in and they're playing under the same coach and they've got a routine going again. And these guys have a chance to actually make a push. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am. When it comes to this, though, we have a few things coming down on us for the rest of the year. Some storylines we want to follow, like which out of the 7 to 9 unrestricted free agents that we're going to keep. With the trade deadline less than a week away, are some of the videos we talked about previously, which we'll link around somewhere here. Are some of those pieces potentially on the move. What's this team look like after the trade deadline? And more importantly, who can we go after the offseason? So be sure to check those out. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and check us out. So we are, so we're keeping you up to date on everything with your Utah Hockey Club.
Absolutely.
With that said, folks, so as a reminder, let me get back to here. With that said, folks, as a reminder, this is our channel for your Utah Hockey Club content. This is Utah Hockey DNA. This channel specifically designed for your Utah Hockey Club. All of our content for your Utah Hockey Club will be posted here. The only thing that doesn't show up here, the live broadcast, the podcast and everything shows up on the main channel. All of our Utah Hockey only content will be posted on Utah Hockey DNA. If you're watching this on that channel, we really appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Slap us some engagement there in the comments, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yep, please do.
All right, let's go ahead and pivot on over and talk a little bit about well, before we do that, let's jump into some of these comments, right? Let's see here. Let's jump into some of these here, and we've got another one from Jonathan there. This one says, I got to say, no, playoffs is good, but next month on April NHL. So I think what he means is that currently right now, when the schedule switch over to April, that's really when hockey starts to jump up, right? So, thank you, man. I missed that. Appreciate it. So I think that's kind of basically what we're getting at there, which I agree, man. It's kind of having a team and actually being involved in this process now has kind of made it more interesting and to feel how this kind of push going down. To have a team that's actually potentially being in it, it's kind of nice.
Absolutely.
Greg Hoppins also comments here. I'm not sold on
Terigny.
But I'm willing to see what happens another year first. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think he makes some of his he makes a lot of the right comments in his post-game interviews and talks about the right things about the team really kind of getting in sync together and really, but there is a lot of times where he is like in a bad loss. He's focusing on the positive, which, you want to do that for a team that's developing, but for a team that's kind of trying to compete, I think he is kind of missing the mark a little bit when it comes to some of that stuff.
And I think even just being even just a borderline playoff team, I think you expect a coach to come in and say, we've got to be better. We've got to make some changes and we've got to do some things that are going to put this team in a position to win. And that's the stuff that I wish that I would hear him say in some of these interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe it's just the way he handles it, but I kind of agree there with Greg. I'm not necessarily completely sold on him as I am about the team. I'm probably more sure about him though than I am about the ownership of the team. So more of that to talk about a little bit later. I'm sorry, man. SCG is just not investing a lot of confidence in me on their ownership of pro sports teams in the Utah market so far. But hey, that's just me. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your Utah Jazz. All right, folks, let's go ahead and break down a little bit about your Utah Jazz here. Now, again, first, folks, before we get into the content, we want to remind you that this channel, Utah Jazz DNA, is a channel specifically designed for your Utah Jazz content. All of our Utah Jazz content will be posted here on this channel. If you want to hear our full-length episode, is available on our main channel, DNA Sports Recap, where we cover all of our subjects we talk about each week on the podcast. But everything that posts on this channel is Utah Jazz specific. So if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you smash that like button for your boy AJ over there.
Boom.
And check out the merch store. We got that Hot Rod Hundley t-shirt. It's fire. Check it out. Absolutely love it. But yeah, so what's going on, AJ?
We need to talk a little bit about Isaiah Collier.
Yeah. So do you want me to intro this? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we first want to talk about a player that's been playing well and getting some attention and on pace to break a nice little record set by the GOAT, literally one
the
of the best
GOAT
and the steals GOAT.
Have
you seen the side-by-side comparison with him and LeBron?
No.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to send you this and I'll put it up on the screen here if we actually get a chance to post it. But basically there's like 16 categories where we're talking about John Stockton in case you haven't noticed, but it has like 16 categories where it says games played, all-star appearances, shooting percentage and everything. John Stockton leads in all but 2 categories. Yet LeBron's supposed to be the GOAT, right?
The GOAT.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think John Stockton's the greatest of all time. But when you talk about the greatest player as far as longevity and everything, yeah, your boy Stockton's got to be up there. But anyway, so Isaiah Collier is actually set to break the rookie assist record that was set by your boy John Stockton, one of the statues out front. Now we both previously have spoken very highly about this player, about Isaiah Collier. You at the time of the draft, and then me again a little bit later, about how his build is very, D-Will-esque, and how he could potentially be the type of player that this team needs. And the fact that we're already getting into this conversation that he, as a rookie, can potentially break the how many assists Stockton had in his rookie year, when that kid when he put up like 20 assists a game, kind of impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Collier's really, he's kind of growing right in front of our eyes. I mean, he's played in 49 games so far this season and averaging 24 minutes per game so far this year, which is kind of surprising considering he has come off the bench for the majority of those games. It's only been recently that he really started starting in some of these games. So right now he's averaging 7 points, 6 assists, 3.1 rebounds per game. He has struggled from the 3-point line. He's only shooting 23.9%, kind of expected. And he's also currently posting a plus minus of negative 3.9, but that number is really never going to be good to look at when you've got a team that's losing as many games as the Jazz are, right?
Right. They're not trying to win.
Exactly. And so anytime you're looking at plus minuses and a team that's losing, it's really hard to dictate that as whether that's a statistic that you can use to really analyze a player's effectiveness in a game. So I don't know. Isaiah's he's been really great to watch because he continues to get better every single game. He is a great defensive player that is really physical, and he plays with a much higher motor than I think I really expected. His basketball IQ is really fun to watch because he does his best to make every single person around him better. And you can see that. And that's the reason that, just like the stat that you just talked about, he's got a chance to potentially break some of these assist records because he's not looking to get points for himself every single time he touches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking to get the best possible open shot for every single person on the floor. And he does a really good job exploiting other teams if they break down early or they go to cover him, because he is a force when he's rolling to the basket. Kid's got a chance to get a bucket every single time. He's talented. He's crafty with the ball in his hands, and he can find that player that's open. And I bet you if he had better shooters on this team all around, his assist numbers would be much higher than they currently are.
Oh yeah, for sure. It wouldn't be even close. Now, I mean, we all know John Stockton wasn't the starting point guard when he was a rookie, but Isaiah, like you mentioned, has only played in 47 games so far this year.
Yeah.
So he's not necessarily, being the starting point guard on a winning team either. But to break his rookie record for an assist is still very impressive. I think what's kind of interesting about this though is that Isaiah Collier, we talked about him last week, right? When we talked about who he's kind of the steal of this draft.
Yeah.
And check it out. It's on it's on our video podcast list for the Utah Jazz DNA channel. We'll link it somewhere down below as well. I think it's really kind of interesting because we hinted on this last week, and now this comes up this week. And I just really think that this team is kind of in a position where, you can take something. Obviously, this team doesn't have there's not a whole lot of storylines to talk about when it comes to this team, but this is definitely one of them. And I think he's making the best of the fact that Keyonte George got demoted for his defense. He's realized he's like, hey, I got a shot to prove something here, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and he really needed to take advantage of every single opportunity that he gets, because the kid is really talented. And the fact is with all the things that he's able to do, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, which is really kind of Keontae's downfall. And we'll talk more about Keyonte coming up. But I don't know, Isaiah's he's so talented with the ball in his hands to make his teammates better that you can't pass up on an opportunity like getting a position to start on a team. And especially like you can see the Jazz. I mean, they're playing guys they're picking up off G League rosters. I mean, they're on the floor.
Right.
There's a reason these guys aren't NBA rosters, right? They're not shot makers per se. And I don't know. I think he's just done a really good job with every single minute he's gotten.
Yeah. I mean, some of these assist totals are definitely being helped by the fact that he is being slacked off 10 feet whenever he's around the 3-point line. So he's definitely got a lot more visual space to kind of see, everything there. And, he is undersized at 6'2" as a point guard, but I really kind of think that he's in a good position to make the most out of it. And, who knows if he actually can raise those points, the shooting percentages by 10 points across the board going into next season, which is totally doable because that gets him to just slightly above league average, which will put him right around just a little bit above Ricky Rubio's shooting percentage on average.
Yeah.
I think we put him in a great position to, again, maintain his status on this team and be here with this team when they're ready to compete. But anyway, so going from one steal of the draft to another, let's talk about we talked about how Isaiah Collier is one of the better defending guards on this team. Let's talk about the worst defensive guard on this team, which is Keyonte George.
Yeah. I mean, Keyonte is, well, you intro this one.
Okay, sure. So there was an article on SI.com that was headlined Jazz Keyonte George starting to deliver on promise. Earlier in this season, we talked about the Utah Jazz sending KG3, which, again, I'm coining that phrase. It's going on a t-shirt. It's going to be sent to the bench as a message saying that they want to improve his on the defensive end of the ball, which we talked about in great detail about how the head coach for the Jazz, basically says he's the first coach ever to pressure him to actually do better on defense or to care how he's playing on defense.
Yeah.
Well, from this article, what that says, it looks like he's really stepping up to that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we need to prerequisite this with a little bit of what Keyonte's stats are right now. Okay, because I think we need to know that he is averaging almost 17 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, and 5.9 assists per game.
Which is impressive.
It's not much off that ridiculous Isaiah Collier number we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you look at the last 10 where he's coming off the bench, and again, he was benched because of his defensive performances, right? He's averaging 19.6, 4.7 rebounds, and again, 5.9 assists while shooting 37% from three.
Yeah.
So he's playing much better coming off the bench. But like you said, the fact is he has stepped up to the challenge, right? And I think it really shows that he's taking strides in the right direction, because Keyonte is a really great scorer, no secret. But NBA level defense is something that most players just don't get to immediately. You don't step into the league and you're not an NBA ready defender.
Unless that's what you're being,
unless that's why you were drafted. Absolutely. Yeah. Taylor Hendricks is a great example. He has elite size, elite quickness, especially laterally. They thought he would be an elite NBA defender, which he was. I mean, we saw before he went off the floor early this year, he was being tasked with guarding the team's best player because he has elite size and elite lateral quickness. But if we look at the same production over these last 10, I mean, there's no question, I think, that Keyonte could very well end up being the player that we kind of hoped he would be. I'm still sticking on the Keyonte train, because if coming off the bench is all he needed to show that he can be a better defensive player, we know this kid can score the basketball. And if he can step up and even be an average NBA defensive player, Keyonte is going to be a great player, because Donovan Mitchell is the player that's notoriously, I feel like in a Jazz fan's mind, we watch this meteoric rise of Donovan Mitchell. How was Donovan Mitchell as a defensive player?
Well, actually, that was one of his calling cards coming into the NBA.
Supposed to be his calling card, right? Because he had elite wingspan.
But as soon as he made
and
it,
he was quick.
He was not a great defender.
Not a great defender, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. And statistically looking at Donovan's metrics defensively, he was a below average defender, right? And some of that is skewed, right? You did have Rudy Gobert, who was obviously, he was a catch-all. I mean, literally, Quinn Snyder's defensive schemes relied on, you feed them into Rudy. Like if they think that they can shoot a 12-foot jump shot, which is the lowest efficiency shot in the game, give it to them. I mean, there's 3 players in the league that can beat you with that: Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan, and maybe De'Aaron Fox. Those are the players that are going to beat you with a mid-range jump shot. Everybody else, they've got to take it to the rack, and Rudy's going to clean up most of that. So he's passing a lot of his defensive assignments on. Obviously, Donovan's defensive metrics may be a little bit skewed in some of that. But if Keyonte can become an average defensive player with his high-powered offensive ability, Keontae's got a chance to be a great player in this league.
No, I agree, man. Like I said before, I don't necessarily think he's going to be the starting point guard on this team when they become a competitor. I definitely think he can take on that JC role when JC steps away from it for this team and be, an elite scorer off the bench that does handle, and some of these offensive stats are kind of pushed up by the fact that he's playing the second unit on some of these other teams, which aren't necessarily as good defenders as the starters. So that does help with the offensive numbers, but that's not really what his assignment's based off. It's based off of improving on defense and improving on efficiency with those soft selections. So I think that's kind of a big part of it. But yeah, well, while I see that Keyonte has the talent, he's probably, again, going to be the type of player that's going to be coming off the bench for this team when I see them competing. But I'm glad to see that he is actually kind of focusing on this and kind of pushing chips in the middle and kind of giving it his all when he has a chance to. So, love to see it.
No, I think Keyonte is going to be great, man. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, so we got a couple of comments here. We got the first one from Greg Hawkins. Say, yeah, go Jazz. Yeah, we got to talk about something, man. So appreciate the enthusiasm on that one. We got a comment here from from McKinley Cutler saying, hello from Japan. Love what I'm seeing from the Jazz young players, especially Kessler. I think he's really separated himself.
Totally agree.
Yes. First of all, dude, what time is it in Japan right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. McKinley, make sure you leave us a comment and let us know what time it is in Japan right now.
Because that's awesome, man. That's baller status right there. The fact that you're out there,
and we also very much appreciate it.
You're there watching our show, whatever time it is in Japan, man. That's fantastic. We appreciate it. Also coming up that we have, but all the rookies and Keyonte have shown enough to make me want to see where they end up. Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to where they end up, like if they end up on like another team to kind of, see where they go, or if you're thinking probably more on like where the team ends up with these players, I think both of those narratives would be kind of interesting because I don't know, man, it's been kind of fun to watch these guys and see how they've been growing as a unit.
I think it makes me really optimistic for the future of this team because these rookies have really showed that this team has a chance to be competitive. Imagine when we're actually trying to win ball games, because we all know that we're not trying to right now.
Yeah, I think that's a big point, and definitely something we'll put on a future episode is kind of the resurgence. And we kind of called this earlier this year.
Yeah.
One of our keys to this season when we first started this season's preseason games is we wanted to see if Walker Kessler could really rebound this season and recover what he lost from last season.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's just hands down no way you can argue that. So we'll definitely get into that and we'll maybe do something about that next week. I also want to do an update on Cody Williams, man. We got to see we got to do an updated video.
Yeah, we do for sure.
Let's go ahead and jump into more of these comments here before we move on. Car Watch Channel, Utah up 2 update 2-0 Utah. We scored a 5-on-3 power play. Nice. And it ended at the end of the first quarter. And it's in first intermission.
First intermission. Nice.
Perfect. So we've got
2-0 Utah.
2-0. So it's 2-0 Utah. Perfect.
Love it. Thanks for the updates, Car Wash Channel.
Absolutely. Greg Hawkins also comments the Jazz really put
the Jazz just really suck, man.
Yeah.
I feel embarrassed to call myself a fan. At least with Mitchell, it was exciting.
Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't long. See, I think that's kind of the rub right now, and I think that's why people are expecting things out of players like Cody and Keyonte, is that this team is not used to being bad for long, and so when we get a top 10 pick, we want to see something out of them.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily Donovan Mitchell-esque or, type, superstardom, like right out of the gate. And I don't think really Donovan Mitchell is considered a superstar. I think he's an all-star level talent. He's never going to be the first option on a championship team, in my opinion, but he was the leader of this team right out the gate. And we were expecting to see something similar to that, which to your point, that's not always going to develop out of everybody.
Right.
But we wanted to see some consistency out of the rookies that we've been able to draft as our first draft during this tankathon, right?
Also really hard playing on a team that's losing like they are. It's really hard to go out there and say, I'm going to give every single thing that I have, regardless of how the score ends up, because everybody in that locker room has to know you're not going out there to win ball games.
Yeah, no, definitely true. That's true. It's a different situation from when Donovan was in the team because we were expecting to compete there because we were surprised by the Gordon Hayward thing. We still had pieces here that were trying to win. So it was definitely a different situation.
And then Donovan steps on the floor and averages 20 his first year in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big difference. Big difference. Let's see here. Car
Wash Channel said it's 11:52 a.m. in Japan. So I guess it's like noon. Perfect.
Nice. Man. That's still awesome, man. Appreciate it. That's very cool.
Also cool you're in Japan.
Yeah, also cool. Yeah. Are you there for no, you're probably not there for Tokyo. That's not even for a month. That's another month from now.
Might be a little premature.
Yeah. Crazy though. That's awesome, man. Thanks for tuning in for sure. You got anything else on the Utah Jazz?
No, man. I'm getting more, my excitement's building on this team.
Oh, for sure.
Because the more we watch them, yes, they're losing, but they're gaining some consistency in some of these key roles that in the future, these guys are going to have spots that are going to matter. They're going to have minutes that matter. And if they can build some chemistry between some of these players, it's going to be a really fun team to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really what's really also kind of interesting here is that one big game is coming up on Friday. I guarantee he's going to be out with a sore back on that one. Right now we have 4 starters out. We're playing a bunch of G League players, right?
Yeah.
And when Cody Williams isn't making the court on that, it's kind of tough. But one game that they're going to play all is going to be this Friday. Tomorrow's game is against Minnesota because we own their pick. So can you imagine, everybody, what we want to do is want to root for the Jazz as Jazz fans. We want them to lose as much. And then we also want any team playing the Timberwolves to win because we own that pick.
Absolutely.
Imagine having 2 lottery picks.
Well, in this chances are Minnesota's not doing great this year. I think they've got a 14th pick right now.
Yeah.
So we could potentially have a top 3 pick and a 14th pick with Minnesota's right now.
Yeah. So I just think that'd be fantastic. So expect to have all the players from the Utah Jazz actually not hurt miraculously tomorrow night.
Could be crazy.
Once again, folks, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about the Utah Jazz, what we talked about today when it comes to both Isaiah Collier and Keyonte George. We'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts on that. Did we miss anything? Please let us know in the comments down below. As a reminder, folks, Utah Jazz DNA is the home of all of our Jazz content. All of our Utah Jazz content will be posted here. So be sure to subscribe to this channel if you're here for the Jazz, man. We'd love to hear from you. Smash that like button for your boy AJ over there. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Join the club, man. Appreciate it. All right, so that's not how that works. That's how that works. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the comments here. We have a few more. Let's see here. Greg Hawkins. Oh no, it's right here. McKinley Cutler says, "I'll see y'all later. Getting on a train now.
Getting off the train.
Getting off the train now. All right, man.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. We also have Greg Hawkins. First Bees game is tomorrow against El Paso Chihuahuas. I think that's awesome.
Ooh. Dude, I am really excited I really want to get into that new stadium.
Yeah, we
down
need
at
to
daybreak.
Do you think they have the same stupid rules that the Jazz do, where we have to bring a clear bag? Since
I don't think so.
Outside, we might have a little bit better chance of bringing something because I'd love to do some coverage there, go to a game, do some vlogging.
Even if we just do it with our phones, would be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably do that. We both have phones. We have to wear 2 mics on both of our shirts because we each have phones.
Oh yeah.
We'll figure out the logistics on it anyway. Let us know if you guys want to see that because we think that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I look forward to going to the Bees game. I'd like to see it. I heard a rumor that you can only buy beer in the beer garden. You can only drink it there. You can't bring it back to your seat.
That would be insulting.
I think that's kind of ridiculous.
I wonder if that's a daybreak rule.
It might be. First home game is in April. So yeah, we'll definitely go check that out for sure.
Yep.
Let's see here. The Bees let you bring in tons of stuff. If you can pack it, they let you usually. So it's like Lagoon, man. It's like Lagoon. This guy knows how to pack for Lagoon, man.
I do.
You can bring your own food. Nice. But yeah, so yeah, we're looking forward to it, man. I want us to catch the Bees games in that new stadium. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into.
Yeah, Greg, we're expecting you to meet us there, buddy.
Yeah, meet us there. First round's on us, buddy. If you meet us out there,
absolutely.
With that said, let's go ahead and talk Major League Baseball. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it here. The first subject we want to talk about is going to be, hang on a second here. We don't have this over here. Okay, so the first thing we want to jump into is we want to talk about is the ABS system is being tested in Major League Baseball during spring training. About 2/3 of these spring training games are having this ABS challenge system, which is something that's been part of the minor leagues for a few years now.
Yeah.
Where the pitcher, catcher, and batter can call balls and strikes at any point during the game. They're the only ones who can challenge, by the way. So no managers, no coaches, no other players, just those, nobody else in the field, only those 3, which I find very interesting. Each team can have 2 challenges and will retain those challenges as long as the previous challenge was successful. So let's say, AJ, you're caught window shopping, right? And for those of you who don't know what that means, it's a baseball term for you strike out looking on the 3rd strike. As Joe Davis says, it's like a house on the side of the road watching the world go by, right?
Oh, can I help you?
Nope.
Nah, just looking. Trevor Bauer reference.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while if a batter believes the ump missed the call, you can actually tap your helmet to trigger the review process. The ump is then who is mic'd, says batter is challenging the called strike. The ABS system then puts it up on the Jumbotron screen and to see if the call was missed or if it hit the strike zone or not. Everybody sees it all in real time, and the ump that makes the call if it was a successful or unsuccessful challenge. If the challenge was unsuccessful, the team loses their challenge, is left with one more. If it was successful, they retain their first challenge. This was first practiced in AAA for the last 2 seasons. It was in rookie ball for a little bit more longer than that. And over the last 2 seasons, it's added about 17 seconds in game time. So let me ask you this on that. What's your thoughts on the automatic ball strike thing? Have you seen some of these?
I have seen them. I think that I actually love this.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I think I love the fact that, have you seen how close some of these calls are?
Oh yeah, they're like
less than a half an inch off the plate. I mean, where a batter is challenging a called strike that's like less than a half an inch plate, and he gets the ball for it. I think it shows. It's kind of crazy to see how well some of these batters and pitchers actually know the strike zone. Mm-hmm. And did you see that the MLB actually released like an update on what the strike zone is?
Yeah, as far as the percentage of their body.
It's a percentage of your body height. And then it's only over obviously the front half of the plate.
Right. It's the right in the middle of the plate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is part of that. We'll actually get into that there for a little bit. But yeah, I think it's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I love it. I feel like you still get the baseball feel. You've got to have an umpire behind the plate calling. And obviously he's still making 99% of the calls, but I just feel like this is going to really help the game because it does hold umpires to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact is as you're an umpire back there, you're not taking any calls off because you know at any point somebody could challenge it. And you know that the MLB is going to be looking at how many of these challenges are being called, how many are being overturned. I feel like it helps hold umpires to a standard that we should already expect, but it forces our hand a little bit in that way.
Yeah, I agree.
So no, I mean, I really like it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, sorry. So, I mean, I do also want to say that I do love that it, like the strategy that this adds to the game. I mean, because of the whole 2 calls, only getting 2 per game.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it does add another touch of strategy. Like if you miss 1 call, are you going to for sure take the next one? Like catcher's got to be thinking about it. Like if we just lost one or a pitcher just lost one, you might be a little more hesitant if it's in the first or second inning. I mean, yeah, obviously if you're in the 8th or 9th inning, you might be more willing to take that second call. But the question that I really want to know is, can this be implemented this season? Because we need it in MLB now.
Great question. And MLB has stated firmly on this one several times that it will not be considered for regular season, regardless of how popular it is. Dang. So this is something that has precedence in Major League Baseball where they allowed the ball and strike call, where they allowed a DH in both leagues for the 2020 season. It went really well. Everybody liked it. Even I was like against it. I thought it ruined strategy for the baseball, and then 2020 season, I didn't even realize I didn't miss it at all. Didn't care. I just, it didn't change the game that much for me. So I turned around and a bunch of people did too. But they still went back to not having a DH in the National League for 1 more year before they implemented it.
Right.
So I think this is going to be something similar they're going to do here. They're going to see how it works in spring training. And yeah, even if it's a resounding success, they got to go back and review everything. Okay, out of all those games, how long did it stretch the game out? Did it make the game longer? Obviously, the first couple times, it took like 40 seconds for them to get through the review. Right?
Which is really nothing.
Yeah, but when you look at it now and it's getting much, much shorter, when they just realized, having the pitch clock is, saved about 40 seconds per pitch, or 30 seconds per pitch. Why are they going to implement a rule that's going to make it longer?
Yeah, add 17 seconds to potentially 2 or 3 times per game.
Yeah, that could combat some of that. But it's really kind of interesting because right now we already have people saying they love it and people saying they hate it. You got Nick York of the Pirates saying he loves it. He was quoted by saying, I saw my numbers jump from AA to AAA. York said, it's the difference between a 1-0 count and an 0-1 count. It takes any situation where a hitter's behind 0-2 and the umpire is just calling strikes 2 inches off the plate. So for a hitter, they're excited because their numbers jump because they're not getting BS calls. They can challenge when it's clear that it was miscalled, right? Pitchers, on the other hand, Jared Jones just was quoted saying, I was in AAA and they had ABS and my ERA was 5. It's like, I'll say that. He's like, I can't throw you can't throw a heater up. That's my bread and butter pitch, and I hate it. So we have both pitchers and C. Serger. He lost 2 challenges in a row. My top end. He's like that was a strike. Tap it, and it missed by like freaking like 6 inches. He's just like whatever. I think that's part of the problem is that the issue with the ABS system is it's going to be in the middle of the plate. Well, the plate is not a 2-dimensional thing in the middle.
Correct.
It can catch the front corner, it can catch the back corner. Like a curveball may not end in the middle in the strike zone, but it does cross the plate in the strike zone and then drops down out by the time it hits the middle.
Yeah, they had to figure out a way to make the strike zone a 3-dimensional box.
Right, which I think is what they tried previously, and it didn't work. So they went to this flat dimensional thing and tried to work it like in the center, which a lot of pitchers aren't going to like because that's a 3-dimensional object that you're trying to call balls and strikes on. And I think the fact that they have an umpire there, I believe they actually polled players, coaches, and fans, and they said 100% robo ump they don't like, 100% umpire they don't like. They all prefer this whole challenge system more. So I think we are going to see it in the big leagues, possibly as soon as next year, but I definitely don't see it happening this year.
Crazy.
Yeah, we got some other comments here. We're going to jump in here. Let's see here. We got a friend of the channel, Tammy Price, saying,
Hey,
I like it. Perfect. I like it too. I think it's going to be good. Hopefully it's good, for the, foreseeable future throughout the rest of spring training. So we do get it implemented in the long run for sure.
Yep.
Greg Hawkins commented here, Yamamoto versus Imanaga opening day in Japan. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, that's going to be great. I mean, Yamamoto did give up 3 bombs in his last spring training start, so that's not great for me. But yeah, that's going to be I think that's going to be awesome. They're going to have 2 starters head-to-head, both from Japan, playing in Tokyo. I think that's going to be awesome. Imanaga was the steal of last year's draft, man. I mean, sorry, as far as players coming over from Japan, he was the steal, man.
He had such a great season.
Yeah, so good for Cubs fans for sure. But we'd love to hear from you folks. Let us know what you think in the comments down below when it comes to the ABS system. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's your comments on that? We'd love to hear from you on what you think of that. So let's go ahead and talk about, there's a new thing going on here where the Rays could potentially be secretly sold.
Yeah, so I kind of found this I actually saw it in a Brody Brazil video. Make sure you guys check that one out. We'll try to throw a link somewhere. Probably up here somewhere. We'll see.
If we could be bothered.
Absolutely. So he posted a video pretty much recapping a report from a Tampa Bay newspaper stating that there are a serious group of buyers having serious discussions about potentially purchasing the Tampa Bay Rays. This is really interesting because the Rays have a stadium deadline coming up that's March 31st. So my question for you is, do you think this team actually goes up for sale? And if they do you think they'll look to move the team, or will it just move cities?
So if you look into the ownership group of that one, you'll see that they, do I think the team ends up being sold? I don't know. There's something a little bit fishy about this for me. So the whole thing kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense because just 3 weeks ago, the Rays owner, Stuart Sternberg, said that they are not looking to sell and they're not actively engaged in any trade talks. So that was to Mark Stein of the Tampa Bay Times. He also added that if it was for sale, people would know it, right?
Yeah.
So some of these things just, and
not necessarily adding up to what the owner's saying versus these media reports.
Right. And it just also seems kind of too good to be true, right? So 30 days before the deadline of what the team had originally with the St. Petersburg County and that whole board situation, their current plans to build a new stadium there in St. Petersburg. Now all of a sudden there's this story where this Tampa Bay ownership group that wants to build this team wants to have the team be in Tampa Bay.
Right.
All of a sudden wants to, and they have a site, they have that working for them. Like they have the money back and they got it all squared away. And it's going to make all the Tampa Bay fans happy because it's going to be in Tampa Bay. And you're only working with them. Like if you're going to be selling the team, what about the Orlando Dreamer ownership?
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you put the team up for sale?
Right.
But the thing is there's always like some of these stories don't ever come up unless there's a reason somebody wants it to come up, right?
Right.
You may not want to initially announce that, hey, this team's for sale. You might want to say, hey, let's kind of gauge the interest in this. And the way you do that is you tell the press and they leak a small story that says, hey, this is potentially happening. And it helps build you a story around what you're trying to accomplish without having to actually just go straight to the media and say, the team's for sale.
No, yeah. And the other thing about that is, like, if they did really want to sell the team and get the top dollar, the Orlando Dreamers would outbid them.
Yeah. I mean, there were some rumors that they wanted $2 billion for this team.
Yeah. And the current evaluation is $1.2 billion, something like that. But yeah, the Orlando Dreamers would definitely swoop in and be like, hey, wait, hang on a second.
Yeah, we'll take it.
We'll take it. We'll pay you that.
Yeah, move it in.
And so the fact that, they're not doing this, either there's more to the story, or they're just doing this to force the hand of the city that they're currently in talks with to sweeten the deal ahead of the deadline.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking this is. This feels very much Luka to the Lakers type trade for me. I'm sorry. There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is being so hush-hush about it. They might be trying to get something done backdoor where it's like, we have a specific place this wants to go. If I've got to move my team, I want to make sure it ends up in, X, Y, or Z area, right? I don't want it to go to Orlando. I want it to stay here. Yeah. I don't know. There's a bunch of baseball politics involved in that, but at the same time, the only thing you could think the reason they wouldn't do that is money's not everything to this, to the current ownership.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the thing there when you think about it. Like, this is what MLB is going to step in and probably have something to say about this.
Absolutely.
If you're saying, okay, you're going to sell the team to this other organization that's going to be in Tampa, how soon is that stadium going to be built?
Yeah.
When is that stadium going to be done?
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to rebuild the Tropicana and have it ready to go next year.
Right. For the 2026 season.
So that's going to need the current ownership, or if you sell the team, do they still get the Trop? And will they let you have the Trop because you're not doing the St. Petersburg deal? If you sell the franchise, how soon is that stadium in Tampa going to be built? Because that's what they care about. They don't want two of their franchises being played in minor league ballparks.
Well, because all it does is just annihilate revenue.
Yeah, so it's not good, especially when we talk about something coming up when it comes to Major League Baseball revenue, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But so to me, that's what I'm thinking is going on. Either A, there's more to the story that we're being told, or B, this is all just positioning and a story being leaked by the current Tampa Bay ownership group to try and push the current city of Tampa Bay and that county, St. Petersburg County, for a more favorable deal, since it's going to push back the definition of the stadium a little bit further. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because the fact is like, if you bring in any other outside sources into this, that stadium deadline is just exaggerated massively, right? Because they've got to make a deadline. The stadium deadline is the 31st. And that is, are we rebuilding the Trop or are we building a new stadium? Because that's the date for that, right? That hard cap date really comes into effect if you're like, hey, if we're selling this team, they've got to make that decision. Or do you say, we make the decision on the Trop? Like any other incoming team is going to want, any incoming ownership group is going to want part of that sale. So that's why it makes this timing for this potential leak, very interesting.
You want to hear my crazy conspiracy theory
I do
about the Luka trade?
What's that?
So kind of going back to the Luka thing. I know we're talking about baseball right now, but so I got a kind of crazy thing. So the NBA ratings are down 41% overall since 2012, right? The league was hoping that when LeBron moved to LA, it would boost their ratings and kind of tune things around, because now the biggest players in the biggest market, because when the league's good, the key players are in key markets, right? Well, that didn't happen. So what if the league came to Dallas and said, hey, you guys aren't happy with Luka. Luka's not happy with you. Why don't you trade Luka to the Lakers so we can capture some ratings and some revenue and some market share for this.
And not to mention, let's do it as a huge, gigantic surprise, so that every single person with ESPN or Bleacher Report gets a notification that says breaking news.
Right. So let's pump this up and see if we can capture some ratings growth over the. I don't know.
Crazy. Unsuccessful.
Yeah. Crazy conspiracy theory. I don't know. We're gonna hit in some of these comments here. We got a comment from Greg Hawkins here. ABS system. So the ABS system is good. Yeah, I'd have to say it is. While it is flawed, I would like some stuff to change about it. I definitely think what it currently is doing quite well.
Yeah,
good enough for me anyway. You also have it says overdue. Honestly, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to agree with you there. Definitely something that's gonna be implemented sooner than later. Honestly. We also have Greg Hawkins commenting on the Rays potentially selling their team. The Millers are sitting there rubbing their hands like, yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't think that that's going to be a relocation option. Like, I don't think if they're selling it to the secret buyers because they want them to be in Tampa, I think that's what that's about.
Right.
You know, if it wasn't for that, then the Orlando Dreamers would probably be the first likely ones too. But, you know, other options there for other potential options for sure. But yeah, so anyway, folks, we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about the Rays potentially being sold. We'd love to hear from you on that. If you think it's just a ploy for the current ownership group to try and gain leverage, or if you think they're actually going to sell the team, we'd love to hear from you.
Yep. Leave us a comment down below.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk and move over and pivot on over to, what the main topic we want to talk about today, which is actually going to be, actually, let's get into this comment here before we do that. One last comment from Greg Hawkins is the more problems that these other franchises have, the better it looks for Utah for an MLB team bid. For sure. Absolutely. 100% agree. I'm still not completely sold the Athletics and in Vegas. Still think there's a better shot that either A, they stay in Sacramento, or B, they come here. So I still think it's a possibility. So we wanted to pivot on over and talk a little bit about some news that broke out last week, exactly right after we filmed our show, which is kind of how that works for us. Every time, like literally breaks right after we do it. That MLB is planning, that they've announced that they are separating. We talked about this actually because it broke the same day. We talked about our emotional response to it when we heard that ESPN and Major League Baseball are separating, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we first heard. We kind of gave our emotional state on it. I talked about how I prefer that, but let's kind of go ahead and break it down a little bit more. So break down what happened when it comes to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the MLB and ESPN obviously announced that they're going separate directions after the 2028 season, right? So the MLB kind of initially framed its split with ESPN as mutual, but reports have come out since kind of saying, yeah, it's not necessarily what happened, right? ESPN actually chose to opt out of its current rights deal after the MLB rejected its proposals for additional content without increased payments. While ESPN remains interested in baseball, it seeks a lower price where MLB is focused on broadening its media partnerships ahead of 2028. The league's already kind of engaged with Amazon, Netflix, Skydance, never even heard of Skydance, and NBC. So ESPN would like to re-enter negotiations later, but it kind of appears that MLB is determined to explore new partnerships in this, and kind of it seems like they're prioritizing long-term strategy over short-term revenue that they could potentially gain with ESPN.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of one of the reasons they did state that I kind of do still agree with is that MLB isn't happy with the way ESPN is covering the sport across their other shows, right? As a baseball fan, I do agree with that, but while I think that's true, what MLB is going to do from here is going to be kind of weird because, let's say ESPN, because originally what ESPN was doing, they originally were paying like $750 million and they had more games, right? They had all Sunday Night Baseball, and they had a few other spots throughout the season, and they also had the Home Run Derby, and they also had the Wild Card, right?
Yeah.
And they renegotiated for $500 million, and then now they wanted to renegotiate and then have less, but MLB for a lower rate, and then MLB wanted just to add more inventory and keep it at $500 million. ESPN says no, right? Well, let's say ESPN renegotiates and gets $400 million, right? Let's say they bring it down to that. From these other so-called two partners that you're already in talks with, are you going to get anywhere close to that? Probably not.
You wouldn't think so.
So what do you think, AJ, that MLB is going to do? What is your solution that you think MLB, the reason why they didn't re-engage with ESPN?
I mean, I think that Major League Baseball is solely moving on because they do feel like a long-term partner. I feel like they can find a long-term partner that pays them more and they can get baseball in front of more people. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? I mean, the fact is we talked about it in a previous episode, but the regional sports networks have been really tough. They're difficult because I think more and more people are getting frustrated with blackouts. Why is that a thing? And MLB is one of the last one. I mean, besides the NFL, really one of the last major sports network with blackouts. I mean, the fact is if your favorite team from out of market is playing in your market, you can't watch the game,
right?
Which is craziness. The fact is with streaming services taking over everything, Major League Baseball has to do something to change its approach. They've got to, because ESPN is one way to look at it. But if ESPN is saying we want a little bit more for the same price, or we want a little bit less for a little bit less, that's not the avenue you're looking to go. MLB's looking to increase revenue. And I think the best thing that they can do is to explore Amazon and Netflix, because now Netflix is streaming. They streamed their first boxing match, and that was an what's the nice word for that? Shit show is the only one that really comes to mind. If you watch the Amazon boxing match between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, you know it was a mess.
It's terrible.
They have had some luck with that streaming service since then. They are getting better at obviously streaming live events.
Yeah, and obviously like a baseball game on a Tuesday night is going to not draw as many clicks.
It's not going to drive 58 million people and overload every one of your servers and freeze up every game that's being watched. But you do have the ability to get more people in front of and watching baseball games. And that's what Major League Baseball is trying to do. And with all of the things that Major League Baseball has done to tweak the game to make it more interesting, as far as bases and ABS that's potentially coming to the league, the pitch clock. These are all things that show you that Major League Baseball is playing the long game.
Oh yeah.
These guys are making changes to get people watching baseball for years to come. And I think that they make a change to put baseball on a streaming service that people are already subscribed to. There's got to be 200 million Americans that already have Amazon, that already pay for Amazon. You know what I mean? Like Amazon, what is it? Prime. If you could just automatically tune in and get X amount of baseball games, you're going to tune in.
Yeah. So my thought on this is that the MLB is going all in-house on this one.
Oh, absolutely. I think I could definitely see it.
So they already have their network, the MLB network, and they also have MLB extra innings for out-of-market games, right?
Yeah.
Both you and I have that.
Yep.
You have it when it comes free on T-Mobile, and friend of the channel helps me out on my end of that one. But so what I'm thinking is that after the bankruptcy of Diamond Sports Group and the shutdown of AT&T Sportsnet, MLB already has the local broadcast rights for the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Rockies, the Guardians, and the Twins. So they already own the local sports for that.
Correct.
I think what they're wanting to do is control that and others, and offer a streaming service for not only all local teams, but also all their like nationally broadcasted games that would have been on ESPN or that's on Hulu or on Fox or something like that.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to piss off Fox because they're still paying $750 million a year for the rights.
They're going to keep that money coming in.
Yeah. For the rights that they have, and also the World Series and everything like that. They're not going to piss them off. But they'll basically what I'm thinking.
But also Fox does a great job broadcasting the Major League Baseball.
And they also do a great job of covering the sport. Yeah.
They
100%. That's not, and I can't tell you how much I'm disappointed in the whole Mad Dog Russo show. The only baseball show on there, Mad Dog, I used to love his show, but when he didn't back up, when Stephen A was dogging on Mike Trout and Mad Dog didn't say anything to defend him, I'm just like, dude, you just don't care.
Game over.
It's just proof that that ESPN just doesn't care about the sports that they're not banking on, right? So honestly, I think the position for MLB right now is what they're going to do is they're going to potentially look for a way to make it all in-house and control all the broadcasting rights for all the sport, all their teams in their sport.
Right.
Now that's going to be tough with teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers that have billion-dollar contracts with the Yes Network and with Sportsnet LA. So it's going to be a little bit trickier than that. But honestly, I think all this might be positioning by MLB to air their grievances against ESPN and force them back to the renegotiation table this winter, because I know ESPN was interested in doing something with the RSNs and kind of taking that whole thing over.
Yeah.
So those are a few things that that I think would possibly be what's going to happen.
No, I totally agree. I think Major League Baseball is in a really unique situation right here, because they have the opportunity to do something completely different. Mm-hmm. No major sports networks have made a deal with Amazon or Netflix or NBC to post their nationally televised games, but also to have the ability to take some of these regional sport networks that have gone under their wing and potentially offer a streaming service in some of these areas that say you can see, if you live in Colorado, you can see every Rockies game for $20 a month or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so MLB could do something that's completely out of the box and different. And I could see MLB making a step to say, let's do something different and see how it works in maybe some of these potentially smaller markets. How does this work out? We move it to a larger scale, like LA or, New York, when some of these contracts come up, because all of the contracts are complete in 2028, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even Dodgers and Yankees, all of them are done in 2028.
Yes. I'm not sure about the Yes Network, but I believe that'll be the end of the Dodgers Sportsnet deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they have a really unique situation, and I could see Major League Baseball taking advantage of this and doing something that's completely different than what other major league sports have done, because I don't know. I feel like Major League Baseball has just done a really good job of pushing the envelope and doing different things to make their sport more watchable.
Oh yeah.
The best way to do that is get your product on the field and in front of more people.
Especially when the team's growing internationally, when the sport's growing internationally, more people are watching locally too in the U.S. as well. The sport's actually seeing a bit of a rebound, and it would just suck to have this all kind of go by the wayside because of this issue.
You got to grab it while it's hot.
Yeah, obviously ESPN's kind of the king, right? Ever since TV and satellite ruled the broadcasting world, it's ESPN kind of owned it, right?
Yep.
But with the evolution of entertainment and with streaming services like podcasts, YouTube, new media, ESPN's kind of been catering to the things that gives them ratings, which is NFL, college football, and the NBA, and kind of ignoring everything else, basically. So that's kind of why we're here. That's why baseball has their grievance with it. And, obviously, if you're not covering it that well, you're not going to want to pay a lot for it. So,
yep, exactly.
Anyway, just a few more things before we get out of here. We didn't talk about the Dodgers today.
What?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that. We did not talk Dodgers.
Oh, my gosh. Hold on. I'm sure you got a story for us.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to get into that for sure, because we can't not talk about that. We have another comment here from Greg Hawkins, says the MLB network is available on cable. Yes, exactly. It is. And you could do more with that channel. Imagine instead of having Hot Stove broadcasted 3 times a day and the same 2 shows 4 times a day, and they actually had live games throughout the year on that channel,
Yeah.
But anyway, so since we didn't talk about the Dodgers, I didn't want to come up. I didn't want to say something here. Did you hear what Nasty Nestor Cortez had to say about the 2024 World Series?
I actually did see this.
You heard this?
Interesting enough, Mr. Cortez proceeds to tell an actual, this is the media.
Yeah.
That the Yankees were the better team in the 2024 2025 World Series.
24 World Series.
24, but it was played in 25.
No, it wasn't.
Oh. No, I missed that. Okay. 2024 World Series.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they should have won, and that they should have won games, 1 and 5?
Yeah. So he said that, and I got the quote here. Well, we had done enough to win that game, Cortez said. They can talk whatever they want to talk about, but we win game 1. But we win game 1. We should have anyway. We lost games 2 and 3. We win game 4, and we should have won game 5, going back to LA up 3-2. Some people can say that it slipped away from us. Some people can say that we made a lot of mistakes, which we did. But at the end of the day, we were the better team. I see it that way, and I'm sure everybody in that clubhouse sees it that way. The reality is we could have been going back to LA 3-2.
Do you want to know my opinion on this, Darren?
I'd love to hear your opinion on this.
Let me tell you this. And I know Nestor Cortez will never see this, but I have something very simple to say to him.
Okay.
And this is what I have to say. The better teams win baseball games. That's all there is to it. And I am not a Dodgers fan, right? But the fact is better teams win baseball games, and they don't make mistakes. You had your star player that you're paying $600 million a year to have a ball hit the backside of his glove. That cost you 2 runs in the 9th.
Yeah.
3rd. I don't know. I don't remember.
5th inning.
It doesn't matter.
5th inning. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The fact is Aaron Judge missed a routine fly ball that cost you a whole game.
Yeah, because Kike was overrunning second, so he thought he could back kick him, so he took the eye off the ball.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm talking about, man. Like, first of all, my favorite part about this is that it was Nestor Cortez that's saying this. Do you remember where Nestor Cortez was when the Dodgers won game 1?
No.
He was pitching.
Oh, he was on the mound.
He was the one who gave up that meatball inside fastball
to Freddie
Freeman that he knocked out for the first ever World Series Grand Slam.
So explain to me how you're going to say we should have won game 1.
Yeah.
You gave the actual pitch that lost the walk-off pitch.
So the one person on that team, first of all, you're not even on the team anymore. So I don't know why you're talking about this. You were traded to the Yankees. From the Yankees for Devin Williams. Now you're on the Brewers, right? So out of anybody who's talking about this, the least person who should be talking about you should have won game one was you. And he also went on to say it happened the way it happened. They deserved all the credit in the world for winning the World Series. At the moment, they showed they were the better team. So which way is it? Is that were the Yankees a better team, or are the Dodgers?
Oh, I can tell you exactly what happened. This is an immediate backpedal on a lapse in judgment. Right. This guy knew, oh, wow, I'm actually speaking to the media and this is going to be all over the news. I should probably make sure I say something about the team that just won the world championship and beat us and not even beat us, dude. They whipped our asses in 5 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called a gentleman's sweep for a reason. You got one, dude.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what he's thinking about. Like, he's like, you guys had a shot to win all of those games. For sure. Everybody has a shot to win any game because it starts out 0-0, you know, but the Dodgers knew exactly how to attack them, and it worked. They knew that they had the worst positioning outfield. They knew that if they got on the base pass and caused some havoc, they would make errors. If that was the actual plan of attack, then it's not the fact that you blew it. It's the fact that Dodgers knew what to do to put themselves in a position to win every game.
And the fact is this is very widely televised, right? The Dodgers came out very specifically after the season, after this whole thing was over, and said, this is what we are going to do. We knew that the Yankees had invested in bats and bats and bats, and they were going to try to out offense us. And if we can just make base hits and put the ball into the outfield, we can beat them because we have base runners.
Yeah. And the best part is the only game they actually won was the game that the Dodgers punted. You know, they're just like, okay, we're not going to win this one. Let's just go ahead and let it go.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Mets.
They straight Disney frozen that shit.
But let's go ahead and talk hypothetical, right? So let's say, you know, if you want to type hypotheticals and like, oh, we could have won that game. We were leading. We should have won that game. We should have won this game, whatever, right? So let's also play hypothetical. I'm going to play hypothetical. So if the Dodgers actually had all their starting pitching they had at the beginning of the season that should have been on the team when the season started, then the Yankees would have been swept. It would have been shut out.
They could have gotten actually swept.
Yeah, they would have been swept, and they probably would have been shut out 2 to 3 games. So if we're playing hypothetical, there you go. There's another hypothetical. But anyway, speaking of Nestor Cortez and the fact that he was traded from the Yankees to the Brewers, one more thing I wanted to mention here is, did you see that Devin Williams is already changing Major League Baseball? He's changing the Yankee way, and he hasn't even thrown a pitch.
I saw that the Yankees have officially announced that they have removed the beard rule.
Yeah, and that's because of Devin Williams.
No way.
Mr. Airbender himself. He said that I'm going to keep my beard until the last possible second. So introductory press conference, beard. Right before he went out to do a couple of warm tosses in spring training, then he shaved it. And then right after that was shaven, then, you know, you looked at Devin Williams.
I like Darren Williams way better.
Darren Williams so much better. But you looked at Devin Williams with a shaved face, and it does not look right, man.
It's wrong.
It's totally wrong. Totally wrong.
Yeah.
And then came out and basically just said, hey, we've been thinking about it for 10 years. If that's the reason why we don't get a player is because of this beard rule, that we need to change it. So yeah, Devin Williams, man, making changes for the Yankees without even throwing a pitch. And Nestor Cortez complaining about not winning the World Series.
That rule is so 1930s though.
Well, it has, and you know, Aaron Judge says he still won't grow a beard while he's playing. He's like, I like the rule. It kind of has a sense of discipline on it, and you know, kind of separates us from other teams. And I understand where it's coming from, because the Yankee way actually meant something when you were winning 27 World Championships. You know, most by any professional sports, you were holding your team to a higher standard, but you haven't won a World Series since 2000. At
some point, if you're losing free agents because you're making crazy rules that are from the 1930s and 1940s, you've got to make a decision to say, let's get with the times. Let's do what we have to do. We need to win a championship here soon.
Yeah, so we need to get rid of that rule. I completely agree that I think it's a good fit for sure. Let's go ahead and jump into some of these comments here before we get out of here. We have another comment from Tammy Price, friend of the channel, saying, if I was a Yankee, I wouldn't have kept bringing this up. Yeah, exactly. Good point.
That is correct, Tammy.
Yeah, and he's not even a Yankee. He's still talking about it.
Not to mention he was on the field in game 1 saying that they should have won that shit. Like, dude, you threw the pitch that lost the game.
Yeah, what are you doing? Why are you talking? Yeah, the Yankees are in
for a fun season.
Yes, I think they are. They're going to have a lot of competition in their division this year. I think it's going to be interesting. All this Dodgers glazing is crazy, though. Oh, come on now.
Great. In fairness, I am not a Dodgers fan. Okay.
Yeah.
Go Braves.
Yeah.
I've said it 1,000 times on this show.
Yeah, and we only edited out half of them. So it's great.
Well, we don't make any videos about Braves videos because nobody watches our Braves videos. So it's fine.
It's okay. It's all good.
People do watch our Dodgers content, though. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
This might be a Dodgers channel.
Eventually, it might get there. Who knows? But anyway, folks, we love to hear from
Greg.
you.
I hope you still watch. Sorry.
Yeah, keep watching, Greg.
Yeah,
We'll talk about the Cubs, buddy. Just
even if you're a Dodgers fan, even if you're not a Dodgers fan, we need you to still watch.
Yeah. We'll cover the Cubs for you, just for you, man.
Absolutely.
We'll still talk about it. But anyway, folks, once again, folks, we definitely want to appreciate you. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the DNA Sports Recap. As a reminder, folks, this channel did just hit 1,000 subscribers. Once we earn $500 in AdSense revenue, we're giving 5 lucky subscribers each $100. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that giveaway.
Yep. And if you're watching on YouTube on one of our short videos, just know this is available as a podcast, the whole episode, wherever you get your audio.
With all that said, my name is Darren, and that is AJ, and this has been an episode of the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.